My name is Rachel Bennett. For 9 years, I called Megan Caldwell my best friend. What I didn't know was that she had entered my life for one reason only, to take everything my father left me. I met Megan in a tiny coffee shop on East Boulevard back in 2016, the week after my father's funeral. I had no siblings, my mother had moved to Florida, and the few friends I had didn't know how to speak to grief, so they disappeared into silence. That morning, I was a mess. Red eyes, shaking hands. She sat down across from me, a complete stranger, and said, "You look like you've had the worst week of your life. Let me buy you a muffin." That was Megan. Warm, easy, the kind of person who made you feel chosen. At the time, I thought it was kindness. Looking back now, I realized she knew exactly where to sit, exactly what to say, and exactly how broken I was. She hadn't guessed what kind of person I was. She had studied me. My father used to say that people don't show their true faces when you re-strong. They show them when they think you too broken to fight back. Within a month, we were inseparable. She came to every birthday, every bad date, every panic attack at 2 a.m. When my father's estate settled and I inherited his construction company and the house on Sharon Road, Megan held me while I cried and whispered, "He'd be so proud of you." I believed every single word. 2 years later, she introduced me to Daniel. "He's perfect for you," she said. "Trust me." And I did. Daniel was charming in that quiet way. He remembered the name of my childhood dog. He brought my mother flowers. He fixed the leaky faucet I'd ignored for months. I would later learn that every thoughtful thing he did had Megan's fingerprints on it. Daniel didn't want a wife. He wanted access. We married in the spring of 2019 at a vineyard outside the city, and Megan was my maid of honor. She gave a toast that made the whole room cry. "Rachel deserves the world," she said, raising her glass, "and I'll make sure she gets it. You believe it's a fairy tale, don't you?" I did too. Here's the thing about fake people. They're not careless. They're patient. And the cracks, when they finally came, were so small, I almost missed them. One morning, Daniel handed Megan her coffee before she even asked oat milk, 2 pumps of vanilla, exactly how she liked it. I laughed it off. There were inside jokes I wasn't part of. A glance across the dinner table, the way she texted him directly instead of me. "We just close because of you," she said when I asked. "Don't be weird about it." I started apologizing for feelings I hadn't said out loud. I told myself I was grieving, insecure, dramatic. Megan always had a way of making my own instincts feel like accusations. Have you ever felt deep down that something is wrong, but everyone around you makes you feel crazy for even noticing? That was my whole life for 6 months. A week before everything fell apart, Daniel put a folder in front of me at breakfast and called it just a business cleanup. "It's only paperwork," he said. "Your father would want you protected." He used the word us like a key, hoping it would unlock the part of me that still wanted to believe we were a family. The papers felt like a trap. I didn't sign. Something in my gut reacted before my mind could. Then one night in October, Daniel left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered. It buzzed. I wasn't snooping, but the message preview lit up the screen, and it was from Megan. It said, "She still doesn't suspect anything. Just be patient. Almost there." My stomach dropped straight through the floor. I searched Megan's name in his messages. First, I found the affair. Then, I found the plan. And the plan was so much worse than the affair. They talked about me like I was a problem to manage. Keep her happy until she signs the restructuring papers. Don't let her near the lawyer. Once she moves the shares out of the trust, we re-clear. In simple terms, the company was safe as long as it stayed inside my father's trust. The moment I signed those papers, Daniel would finally have a way in. I sat on my kitchen floor for hours in the dark, holding that phone like a live wire. But you want to know what truly broke me? It wasn't the affair. The thread didn't start in 2023. It didn't even start in 2019. I kept scrolling all the way back to 2015, a full year before my father died. A year before Megan ever happened to sit across from me in that coffee shop. They knew each other before me. Megan and Daniel had been together for years. When my father got sick and the size of his estate became known, they made a plan. Megan would befriend the grieving daughter, earn my trust, then introduce me to the perfect man. The muffin. The funeral. The toast about deserving the world. Every second of it was a performance. And it wasn't only about the money. Megan didn't just envy what I had. She believed she deserved it more than I did. Once, I caught her behind my father's old desk when no one was watching, running her fingers along the edge like she was trying the room on for size. She wanted my house, my company, my husband, my place at the table. I wasn't her best friend, I was a job. 9 years of my life were a script. And I never even knew I was in the movie. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I felt something colder than tears. A stillness, like the moment after you touch a hot stove, before the pain arrives. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. The next morning, Daniel kissed my forehead and told me I was the safest place in his life. Then he drove off to meet her. I still smiled and made him eggs. Because here is what they never counted on. My father didn't trust easily. He built that company from one truck and a ladder, and he watched men try to take it from him his whole life. He locked my inheritance inside an irrevocable trust. Daniel could never touch it, not through marriage, not through divorce, and not through charm. That was the whole reason they needed my signature. Megan had spent 9 years, and Daniel had spent his entire marriage chasing money that was never once on the table. My dead father reached up out of the grave and protected me from people I couldn't even see. For 3 weeks, I said nothing. I let them believe the signing was coming. Quietly, I screenshotted everything, every message, every hotel receipt in his glove box. I took it all to the very lawyer Megan had warned him to keep me away from. So I threw the kind of dinner party no one at that table would ever forget. I invited Daniel, Megan, her new boyfriend, Daniel's brother, and the friends who had toasted us at our wedding. Megan walked in smiling, kissed my cheek, and said, "This house always feels like home." I almost laughed. Of course it did. She'd been trying to steal it for 9 years. Daniel poured himself a glass of wine like he hadn't already lost everything. Right before I stood up, Daniel reached for my hand under the table. I looked down at his fingers on mine and wondered how many times those same hands had touched her. Then I raised my glass, exactly the way Megan had at my wedding. "To my best friend Megan," I said, "who taught me everything I know about loyalty." I pressed play on the speaker, and Daniel's voice filled the room. A voicemail he left her, laughing about how stupid I was. The color drained from both their faces in real time. Megan's new boyfriend slowly set down his fork. Daniel's brother didn't yell or ask questions. He just looked at Daniel like he had become a stranger, pushed back his chair, and walked out. "Rachel, you don't understand," Megan whispered. "No," I said. "For 9 years, I understood exactly what you wanted me to understand. Tonight, everyone else gets the truth." Then I slid the hotel receipts down the table toward her. "The divorce papers are already filed. The lawyer has everything. And the company, it was never yours to take." For the first time in 9 years, she had absolutely nothing to say. No one reached for their wine. The room Megan had always filled with laughter suddenly felt like a courtroom. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal, it was the grief. The divorce was easy compared to deleting 9 years of photos with someone who never loved me at all. Megan holding my hand at the hospital. Megan laughing in my kitchen. Megan in matching pajamas with me on Christmas Eve. How do you delete proof of a life you thought was real? They tried to spin it. Megan told everyone I was paranoid, controlling, that I always been jealous of her. A few people believed her. Last month, I saw the two of them at the Charlotte Farmers Market, holding hands like nothing had ever happened. They didn't get my money, but they had each other. What hurt wasn't that they looked happy, it was that they looked ordinary. I drove home and sat in my driveway for an hour without turning off the engine. Here is what I keep asking myself, and maybe you can answer it. How do you trust anyone again, after the person who held you while you cried turns out to be the one holding the knife? How many of the people in your life are real, and how many are just patient? I still want to believe kindness can be real. I just don't know how to tell the difference anymore. So let me ask you, if you found out your best friend of 9 years had been faking it the entire time, would you have exposed them in front of everyone the way I did, or walked away quietly and let them wonder for the rest of their lives? Tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one this has happened to. And the next time a stranger with a kind smile sits down across from you and offers to buy you a muffin on the worst day of your life, maybe stop and ask yourself why. Because the most dangerous people in the world aren't your enemies, they're the ones you call your best friend.